I wanted to revisit this topic, hopefully for the last time, to provide some new points that I have thought about and paraphrase everything from the previous two documentaries to be clearer. If there is something that is widely misunderstood, I will put a clarification in the pinned comment, so if you plan to comment about a point you disagree with, I would check the pinned comment to see if I have already clarified more in depth about the point you disagree with. SCP-096 is arguably the most annoying SCP to deal with. Everyone knows why, but not everyone understands why it is annoying. To avoid a gruesome demise, you have to keep your head down low, staring at the floor to not see SCP-096's face. Now this is annoying, but why? Now I'm here to tell you, it actually doesn't have to do with SCP-096, but the game. If you watched my previous video about the horror problem in SCP-SL, which you should totally watch if you haven't yet, I addressed this pretty clearly. The problem here is SCP-096 is a character based off of horror in a game that is now mostly revolving around FPS. FPS games require a player to be focused and have minimal to no distractions. SCP-096's idea cannot possibly be more opposite than this gameplay style. His whole hard counter is that you have to look at the floor to not be killed, which is a huge distraction and takeaway from the FPS gameplay. And this is the reason why so many people think SCP-096 worked so well in Containment Breach. It's not because he was an NPC, but because he actually fit the theme of the game. Containment Breach has actually stayed true to the SCP genre, not having their game concentrated on being FPS, but survival and horror. SCP-096's idea aligns perfectly with horror. He is tall, unusually pale, and cries all the time, serving as a distraction. If you don't believe me, I have a good example. Slenderman: The 8 Pages. Now, not once have I heard somebody complain that the key mechanic to this game is you need to look away from Slenderman to not die. And this is because that's the whole point. SCP-096's function just doesn't fit with how Northwood has made the game to be, which doesn't mean that there's a problem with SCP-096's concept, but how compatible he is with what SCP-SL has become. Now, some people like playing as SCP-096, but there is no doubt that his gameplay style is flawed. Many find the gameplay quite dull and boring. SCP-096 is the slowest SCP while docile. That, combined with not being able to attack people on your own initiative, makes it more than possible you will get dry gameplay, not filled with action for a majority of your life as SCP-096. I am actually surprised by how much people disagreed with my point. I'm going to be as clear as possible. The big problem with triggering is the amount of time it takes to trigger SCP-096, which doesn't exist. There is no variable set in place. That means if hypothetically SCP-096's face was on your screen for 1/millionth of a second, it would trigger SCP-096. I'm about to give you a visualization. I'm gonna put an image of SCP-096. Let's see if you can even realize that you saw SCP-096. Did you see it? I doubt so. But that, in-game, if you saw SCP-096 for that amount of time in-game, you would trigger him. Now, I have changed stances on what I want to do. I want the player to see SCP-096's face for at least 0.12 to 0.5 seconds. The goal here is for the player to actually register that they saw SCP-096's face. I don't care about the cue that plays when you see SCP-096 signaling that you saw his face. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that being punished for something that you can't possibly comprehend is a very bad gameplay mechanic. Being punished for realizing SCP-096 is in front of you, quickly turning the opposite direction, and because you weren't fast enough and saw a pixel of SCP-096's face for a singular frame is unenjoyable and very demotivating for me. Do not come at me with the point that this is lore accurate. The change will be unnoticeable to all players. It will be unnoticeable to the victim, and it will be unnoticeable to SCP-096. The only thing this change is doing is preventing a player from triggering SCP-096 if they saw his face for one singular frame. Nobody would notice the difference, but it would be there. This isn't so huge that you can clearly see that you should have activated SCP-096, but didn't. Right now, as SCP-096, if you run at a target and just wave your arms around aimlessly, it doesn't matter if you are looking 45 degrees to the left of a player and are 3 meters away, you end up hitting them. The goal of nerfing SCP-096's splash damage is not to make it to where juking SCP-096 is the best bet, but instead to nerf SCP-096's attack to the point where it is powerful, but requires more thought. Right now, SCP-096 can just mindlessly move from victim to victim and have the minimalist of effort, thought, time, and energy. The attack style is to go to a target, spend 2 seconds without thought clicking on that target, and then move on to the next as you've already killed him. A small change like requiring SCP-096 to be close to looking directly at the target and to be a reasonable distance, maybe a small nerf to 2 meters, would make the move require skill, but wouldn't make SCP-096 objectively weak. I just want there to be some brain behind the movement. This fix would only quote-unquote fix the playing as problem of SCP-096. This would not fix how SCP-096's mechanic of having to look down is dissatisfying for the FPS factor of the game. The point of SCP-SL is to be a game that takes place in an active containment breach of the SCP Foundation that allows players to play all roles of the facility, including the SCPs. Not only does this change not allow that envision of SCP-SL, but it is very out of theme. All natural obstacles that you have to go up against have something in common. For example, Teslas are stationary, and all a player has to do is be observant to survive. SCP-956, that pinata thing, is also stationary, and just requires a player to be observant to survive. Both SCPs are also very simple ideas. SCP-956 spawns randomly and only kills children, while Teslas serve as a natural hazard that can help or harm you. Both SCPs a player also does not have to engage with. The difference between these and SCP-096 would be SCP-096 moves, you need to engage with it, and SCP-096 is an abstract and complex idea. The role of SCP-096 does not fit with an NPC. Not only do many people like playing as SCP-096, but others would enjoy playing him if he just worked a little bit differently. It's insensitive to jump to such a big change without trying other changes posted by the community. The best and most effective way to fix SCP-096 would be to try out all ideas posted by the community until something sticks. And if nothing sticks, so be it. Then you can interpret this idea, but it shouldn't be Plan A. Let's say it gets to the point where everyone agrees there's just no possible way to make SCP-096 work. I don't think he should be removed. I think Northwood should make it so server owners can toggle if SCP-096 can spawn, and if not this, keep SCP-096 in the admin panel for events and personal usage. It would be a shame to see all the work put into SCP-096 be deleted for no good reason. The Docile State is flawed. When SCP-096 is quote-unquote at his weakest, he is allowed to have the full amount of his shield. His shield ranges from between 600 to 1200. This means that if you look at SCP-096 while he is docile, the chance you deal damage to him are minimal, unless you have a really powerful weapon. A really weird mechanic is that when SCP-096 exits his rage state, his Hume shield doubles. This sounds like the most counterintuitive thing. SCP-096 has just exited Rage, putting him in his most vulnerable position, and you give him extra Hume Shield? The Enraged State is also flawed. Whenever you enter a Rage State, your Hume Shield halves. Now this is a really bad mechanic. You are being punished for enraging. Let's say you spent 5 minutes roaming around, and you finally get a small group of MTF to look at you. Anything more than 3 MTF will absolutely shred your health, much more than they should. It doesn't matter that you can dodge, this especially doesn't matter if it's in the facility, you still get hit a lot. This mechanic punishes you for trying to attack the few times you are able to. The defensive capabilities should be swapped. SCP-096 will have a Hume Shield of 200 to start, and when below 21 HP, will have a 600 Hume Shield. Enraging SCP-096 will multiply the Hume Shield by a factor of 2, 200 to 400, and 600 to 1200. While enraged, SCP-096 will also get a slight bullet resistance, 20%. When SCP-096 enrages, there is a base time of 20 seconds, and for each viewer of SCP-096 adds 3 seconds. This time will not be capped. Once SCP-096 enrages, any additional viewers will only add 1 second to SCP-096's rage. Whenever SCP-096 kills a player, as long as SCP-096's rage isn't below 5 seconds, SCP-096's rage will decrease by 3.5 seconds. With these changes, we can give the unused SCP-096 animation a use. SCP-096 can slam a player into the ground, instantly killing them, and launching their items in all directions. This will decrease SCP-096's enrage time by 5 seconds, but give him a temporary bullet resistance buff. I'm thinking of +5 to +10%.